The dust storms on Varath 7 were the worst Jinwoo had ever seen. Red sand hit his cargo ship's windows so hard it sounded like rain. He should have stayed at the base. Everyone else did. But Jinwoo needed the extra credits and nobody else wanted to make supply runs during storm season. He was 3 hours into the journey when he saw the wreckage. At first, he thought it was just another rock formation. The crimson wastes were full of them, but something made him look twice. The shape was too straight, too perfect. Metal didn't grow naturally on this planet. Jinwoo slowed his ship and brought it down near the wreck. He knew he shouldn't stop. The schedule was tight. The storm was getting worse. But curiosity pulled at him like a hook in his chest. He put on his environment suit and stepped outside. The wind nearly knocked him over. Sand got into every crack and corner. He walked toward the wreckage, his boots leaving deep prints in the red dust. It was an Imperial transport. A military one. The markings were half burned away, but Jinwoo recognized the symbols. This wasn't a cargo ship like his. This was something important. Something secret. The hull was torn open like paper. Whatever happened here had been violent. Jinwoo climbed through the gap, turning on his helmet light. Inside was dark and cold. Equipment was scattered everywhere. Emergency lights blinked weakly in the corners. He was about to leave when he heard it. A sound so quiet he almost missed it under the wind. A whimper, small and weak. Jinwoo followed the sound to the back of the ship. There, wedged between two storage containers, was something that made his blood go cold. A Velcran cub. Everyone in the galaxy knew about Velcrans. They were the Empire's weapons. The Empire's monsters, standing 12 feet tall when grown, covered in black scales harder than steel, with claws that could tear through metal and teeth that could crush bones. They served as soldiers, enforcers, and executioners across 300 worlds, and this was a baby one. The cub was tiny compared to what it would become, but still nearly the size of a large dog. Its scales were pale gray instead of black. That was wrong. Jinwoo had seen Velcrans before from a safe distance. They were always dark, always perfect. This one was broken. One of its legs was bent at a bad angle. Its breathing came in short, painful gasps. Its eyes were barely open. Jinwoo's mind raced. He knew the law. Everyone knew the law. All Velcrans belonged to the Empire. Touching Imperial property meant death. No trial, no second chances. They would execute him the moment they found out. He should walk away. He should get back in his ship and forget he ever saw this. The cub made another small sound. Its eyes found Jinwoo's face. There was something in that look. Not the cold predator stare he expected. Something else. Something that looked like pleading. Jinwoo thought about his own childhood. Growing up alone on a mining station after his parents died. The cold looks from people who thought he was just another mouth to feed. The feeling of being unwanted. Unnecessary. He thought about all the regulations. All 63 rules about Imperial property. All the safety warnings about Velcrans. All the reasons he should leave this creature to die. Then he thought about what his grandfather used to say. That being human meant choosing kindness even when it was stupid. Even when it was dangerous. Especially then. "This is the dumbest thing you've ever done," Jinwoo said out loud. His voice sounded strange in the empty ship. He carefully picked up the cub. It was heavier than it looked. Its scales felt rough under his gloved hands. It whimpered again but didn't fight. It didn't have the strength to fight. Jinwoo carried it back to his ship. Every step felt like walking toward his own execution. He kept expecting Imperial soldiers to appear. Kept expecting alarms to sound. But there was only wind and sand and silence. Inside his ship, he made a space in the storage area. He had some emergency medical supplies. Nothing meant for Velcrans, but better than nothing. He splinted the broken leg as carefully as he could. He gave the cub water through a tube. It drank weakly. "What am I doing?" Jinwoo asked himself. "What am I doing?" But he knew what he was doing. He was saving something small and helpless. The universe might call that stupid. His survival instinct certainly called it stupid. But something deeper in him called it right. He started the engines and lifted off. The storm fought him every meter of the way. His hands shook on the controls. Not from the flying, from what he had just done. In the storage area, the cub lay quiet. Its breathing was steadier now. Its eyes stayed on the door where Jinwoo had disappeared. 3 hours later, Jinwoo landed at the mining colony. He filed his normal reports, delivered his supplies, smiled at the dock workers. Inside, his heart hammered like it might break through his chest. Nobody suspected anything. Why would they? He was just Jinwoo, just another cargo hauler, just another human doing another boring job on the edge of nowhere. That night, in his small quarters attached to his ship, Jinwoo sat next to the cub. It was sleeping now. Its breathing was better. The medical supplies had helped. "I don't know what I'm going to do with you," Jinwoo said quietly. "I don't know how to take care of you. I don't even know what you eat." The cub's eyes opened. Just a crack. It looked at him with something that might have been trust, or maybe Jinwoo was imagining it. He thought about names, about what his grandfather would have called something like this. Something small that everyone said would never amount to anything. Taeho, Jinwoo decided. "I'll call you Taiho. It means greatness. Maybe you'll grow into it. Maybe you won't, but everyone deserves a name." The cub's tail moved slightly. Not quite a wag, but not quite nothing either. Outside, the storm finally ended. The red dust settled. The twin moons of Varath 7 rose over the desert, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, Imperial computers were already noting an anomaly, a crashed transport, missing cargo, questions that would need answers. But for now, in a small cargo hauler on the edge of civilization, a human and a predator slept near each other. Both abandoned by the universe, both unwanted by the systems that created them, neither knowing that this moment would change everything. 6 months changed everything. Taeho grew faster than Jinwoo expected. The small cub that fit in his arms now stood nearly 5 feet tall at the shoulder. His scales darkened from pale gray to deep charcoal. His broken leg healed straight and strong. His teeth came in sharp and white, but he was still small for a Velcran. Other Velcrans his age should have been 7 or 8 feet tall already. Taeho would always be the runt. That genetic defect that made the Empire throw him away didn't disappear just because someone cared for him. Jinwoo learned quickly that Velcrans ate almost anything. Meat, obviously, but also fruits, certain metals, and something about his species meant they needed to chew on ship parts sometimes. Jinwoo's cargo hauler started looking rough around the edges, bite marks on the handrails, scratches on the floor, small dents where Taeho had tested his strength. Nobody minded the damage. There was nobody to mind. Jinwoo lived alone, worked alone, and now he wasn't alone anymore. The bond formed slowly. At first, Taeho just tolerated Jinwoo's presence. He ate the food. He let Jinwoo treat his injuries. But he didn't trust, not really. Then one day, Jinwoo woke up with Taeho's massive head resting on his chest. The weight was uncomfortable. The heat from the Velcran's body made him sweat. But when he tried to move, Taeho made a sound. Not a growl. Something softer. Something that sounded almost like contentment. After that, Taeho followed Jinwoo everywhere. Through the ship. During supply runs when it was safe. Even to the bathroom, which Jinwoo had to firmly discourage. "You're like a giant scaly puppy," Jinwoo said one evening. Taeho's tail thumped against the floor. "A puppy that could bite my head off." But still a puppy. The real surprise came when Taeho started understanding human speech. Not just simple commands like sit or stay, real words, real concepts. Jinwoo would talk to him during the long flights between stations, and Taeho listened. His head tilted, his eyes focused, and slowly he learned he couldn't speak back. His throat wasn't made for human language, but he found other ways. A specific growl meant yes, a huff meant no, a chirp meant he wanted food. A low rumble meant he was happy. The rumble was Jinwoo's favorite sound in the universe. 3 months in, Jinwoo got sick. A bad jump through hyperspace exposed him to radiation. It happened sometimes to solo haulers who couldn't afford the best shields. Usually it just meant a few days of feeling awful. But this time was worse. Jinwoo spent 3 days burning with fever. He couldn't eat, could barely drink. The medical supplies on his ship weren't enough. He needed a real doctor. But the nearest medical station was 2 days away, and he couldn't fly like this. Taeho saved his life. The Velcron curled his body around Jinwoo, keeping him warm when he shook with chills. He brought water when Jinwoo called for it. He even figured out how to use the ship's emergency beacon, calling for help. When the rescue team arrived, they found Jinwoo unconscious and a fully grown Velcron guarding him. The medics froze. Velcrans meant danger. Velcrans meant death. You didn't approach a Velcran, ever. But Taeho just moved aside. Let them take Jinwoo. followed quietly behind as they carried him to their medical ship. "I've never seen anything like it," one medic whispered to another. "That's not normal. That's not how they act." "Maybe it's sick too," the other replied. "Or defective," Taeho heard. He understood. But he didn't attack. He just stayed close to Jinwoo and waited. Word spread after that. Space stations were small communities. Everyone talked. The story grew with each telling. A human with a tame Velcran. A predator that acted like a pet. An impossibility walking around like it was normal. Most people didn't believe it. Some thought it was a trick. Some thought the Velcran was drugged. Some thought Jinwoo had some kind of special technology. But a few people started to wonder. Started to ask questions. If one human could bond with a Velcran, what did that mean? What did that change? Hana heard about it 4 months after Jinwoo found Taeho. She was an Imperial intelligence officer stationed at Nexus Prime, a border world where the Empire met the free colonies. Her job was to monitor threats, watch for rebels, stop problems before they started. A human bonding with a Velcran was a problem, a huge problem. Hana pulled the reports. At first, she thought it was nonsense. Field agents exaggerating, colonists spreading rumors. But the details were too consistent, too specific. Multiple witnesses, video footage from station security cameras, medical records from when Jinwoo got sick. It was real. She studied everything she could about Jinwoo. Born on a mining station, parents died when he was young. No criminal record, no political affiliations. Just an ordinary human doing ordinary work. Nothing special, nothing remarkable, except he had done something nobody in the galaxy had ever done before. Hana understood what this meant. The Empire built its power on a simple idea. Some species were born to rule and some were born to serve. Velcrans were perfect warriors because they couldn't bond with lesser species. They couldn't be corrupted by sympathy. They couldn't choose loyalty over instinct. If a human could bond with a Velcran, that idea fell apart. If one bond was possible, others might be possible. The whole hierarchy might be built on lies. She sent her first report to her superiors, recommended immediate action. Capture the human, secure the Velcran, study them, figure out how it happened. Make sure it never happened again. The response came back within hours. Approved. Use any force necessary. Hana assembled a team. 3 ships, 20 soldiers, 2 Imperial Velcrans to handle the defective one. It should be simple. Jinwoo was just a cargo hauler. He had no weapons, no training, nowhere to run. But as she prepared, Hana kept looking at the footage, kept watching the way Taeho followed Jinwoo, the way the Velcran's whole body relaxed when the human was near, the way something ancient and violent had learned to be gentle. She had never seen anything like it. In all her years of service, in all the worlds she had visited, she had never seen a bond like this. It made her think of her own family, her own childhood, the way the Empire took children and trained them to forget their parents, forget their homes, forget everything except duty. She pushed the thoughts away. She had her orders. She had her mission. Personal feelings didn't matter, but as her ships prepared to launch, Hana made one decision that would change everything. She set her recording equipment to broadcast live. Whatever happened next, the whole Empire would watch. She told herself it was for documentation, for proof, so her superiors could see how she handled the situation. But deep down, she wondered if it was something else, something she didn't want to name. Far away on his cargo hauler, Jinwoo felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at Taeho, who had gone very still. Very quiet. "What is it, boy?" Jinwoo asked. Taeho growled. Not the happy rumble, not the playful sound. A real growl, a warning danger was coming. They both felt it. The 6 months of peace were ending. Everything was about to change. Jinwoo knew they were being hunted. The signs were everywhere. Portmasters who used to wave him through now checked his papers 3 times. Security guards followed him with their eyes. Dock workers whispered when he passed. Even the automated systems seemed to take longer to process his requests. And Taeho felt it too. The Velcran stayed closer than ever. His body was always tense, always ready. When people got too near, he positioned himself between them and Jinwoo. His message was clear: go through me first. It almost caused disaster at Outpost 7. A bounty hunter reached for Jinwoo's arm, trying to grab him. Taeho moved like lightning. 1 second the hunter was standing. The next second he was on the ground, Taiho's jaws around his shoulder, teeth just barely not breaking skin. "Taiho, no!" Jinwoo shouted. "Let him go!" Taiho released immediately. But the damage was done. People saw. People knew. A Velcran had attacked someone to protect a human. That kind of behavior didn't exist. Couldn't exist. They ran, jumped to the next system, and the next, always moving, never staying long enough to feel safe. Finally, they reached Sanctuary. Freeport Sanctuary. It was humanity's last truly neutral space, a massive station floating between Imperial territory and the free colonies. Treaties older than most governments protected it. Even the Empire couldn't just attack here without starting a war. It should have been safe. Should have been. Jinwoo found a cheap berth for his ship and a cheaper room in the lower levels. The place was crowded with refugees, smugglers, and people running from something. He fit right in. Just another face in the crowd. He had been there 2 days when Sora found him. She approached in a market, moving through the crowd like she belonged there. She was tall for a human woman with short hair and eyes that saw too much. She wore a scientist's practical clothes and carried a data pad. "Jinwoo," she said quietly. Not a question. A statement. He tensed. Taiho growled low in his throat. "I'm not here to hurt you," Sora said quickly. She showed her hands empty, no weapons. "I'm a xenobiologist. I've been studying your case." "My case?" Jinwoo's hand moved toward the knife in his belt. "The bond. You and Taiho. I've read every report, watched every video. Do you know what you've done? Do you understand what this means?" "It means I'm going to die," Jinwoo said bitterly. "The Empire won't stop. They'll find me, kill me, take him." "Maybe," Sora agreed. "Or maybe not. Come with me, somewhere private. Let me show you something." Jinwoo almost said no, almost walked away. But something in Sora's voice made him follow. They went to her small lab on the station's research level. The room was full of screens and equipment. Data scrolled across every surface. "Look at this," Sora said, pulling up files. "The Empire has been trying to replicate what you did. They used 12 human volunteers. Promised them freedom if they could bond with Velcran cubs." Jinwoo felt cold. What happened? 11 were killed within hours. The cubs tore them apart. The 12th volunteer went insane. Started screaming about voices. They had to euthanize him. Sora's face was grim. "Whatever you did, whatever happened between you and Taiho, it's not something that can be forced. It's not something that can be copied. Then why are you here?" "Because I can help you disappear. I have contacts in the free colonies. They'll take you, give you new identities, new lives. You and Taiho can be free." Hope flared in Jinwoo's chest. "Really, you can do that?" "Yes, but there's a cost." Sora's voice became heavy. "The transit will take weeks. To avoid Imperial tracking, Taiho will need to be sedated the entire time. Deep sedation. The kind that affects memory." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying the bond might break. He might wake up confused, scared. Velcrans are predators, Jinwoo. Their instincts are strong. Without the bond, without recognizing you." She didn't finish. She didn't need to. "He might kill me," Jinwoo finished quietly. "Yes." Jinwoo looked at Taiho. The Velcran was nearly 8 feet tall now. His scales were dark and strong. His claws could tear through steel. His teeth could crush bones. He was everything the Empire designed him to be, except he wasn't. Because he looked at Jinwoo with complete trust. Because he rumbled softly when Jinwoo was near. Because he had chosen love over instinct every single day for 6 months. "What's the other option?" Jinwoo asked. "You surrender. Give Taiho to the Empire. They won't kill him. He's too valuable to study. You'd face trial. With your record, maybe 20 years in a work colony, you'd be alive. And Taiho, a lab, for the rest of his life. They'd run tests. Try to figure out what makes him different. Break the bond to see how it formed. It would be..." Sora stopped. "It would be cruel." Jinwoo sat down hard. His hands shook. 20 years in prison or risk everything on a journey that might end with Taiho killing him. Those were his choices. Those were his options. Taiho pressed his massive head against Jinwoo's chest. The rumble started. That deep, happy sound that Velcrans supposedly never made. His eyes were calm, trusting. "I can't give him up," Jinwoo said. "I can't let them put him in a lab." "Then we leave tomorrow," Sora said. "I'll make the arrangements," but tomorrow never came. That night, alarms blared through Sanctuary. Emergency lights flashed red. Automated voices spoke calmly about a security breach, about Imperial forces, about everyone staying in their quarters. Jinwoo ran to the window. Outside, he saw ships. Imperial ships. They were docking without permission. Soldiers poured out wearing assault gear, and at the front, two massive Velcrans moved with military precision. They're breaching the treaty, Sora breathed. They're actually attacking Sanctuary, Taiho growled. Not a warning this time. A challenge. We have to run, Jinwoo said. Now. They moved through corridors full of panicking people. Everyone was trying to get to their ships, trying to escape. But the Imperial forces were blocking the docks, blocking every exit. Jinwoo found himself pushed toward the central plaza. Hundreds of people were being herded there, trapped, surrounded. At the far end, Imperial soldiers formed a wall, and walking through them came a woman in an officer's uniform. She moved with authority, with purpose. Behind her, the two Imperial Velcrans prowled. Jinwoo! The woman called. Her voice carried across the plaza. My name is Hana. You know why I'm here. Jinwoo's hand found Taiho's neck. The scales were warm under his fingers. This doesn't have to be violent, Hana continued. Surrender the Velcran. Come peacefully. No one else needs to get hurt. No, Jinwoo said. His voice cracked. I won't. Then you'll both die here. Jinwoo looked around. Hundreds of people watched. Sora stood nearby, her data pad out. Recording. And on every screen in the plaza, he saw his own face. Saw Taiho, saw the Imperial forces. This was being broadcast. Hana was showing the whole empire, showing them what happened to people who broke the rules. The Imperial Velcrans advanced. They spoke in their guttural language, ordering Taiho to submit, to remember his place, to serve the empire like he was born to do. Taiho snarled back, but he didn't attack, didn't submit. He just moved behind Jinwoo, hiding behind a human. Trusting the human to protect him, it was impossible. It was wrong. It violated every natural law. Jinwoo stepped forward, put his own soft, breakable body between Taiho and the soldiers, between Taiho and the Empire, between Taiho and death. You want him? Jinwoo said. You go through me. Hana's hand moved to her weapon. The soldiers raised their guns. The whole galaxy watched, and somewhere in an office far away, a mid-level bureaucrat named Do-hyun made a decision that would change everything. Do-hyun was nobody important. He knew this. Everyone knew this. He worked in records management on the capital world. Level 47, subsection K, desk 892. He filed reports. He organized data. He made sure the right information reached the right people at the right time. It was boring work, safe work. The kind of work that let you live a quiet life in the Empire. He had been doing it for 23 years. That morning, he was drinking his third cup of coffee and watching the live feed from Sanctuary on his secondary monitor. Everyone in the building was watching. The whole Empire was watching. You couldn't not watch. This was history happening in real time. He saw the human, saw the Velcran, saw the human step in front of the predator like that soft body could actually protect something designed to kill. Idiot, someone said at the next desk. He's going to die for a pet. But Do-hyun didn't think it looked like a pet. He thought it looked like family. On screen, Hana raised her weapon. The execution order would come any second. Do-hyun's hands moved across his keyboard without thinking. His fingers knew the paths, knew the passwords. 23 years of quiet work meant he knew where everything was stored. Every file, every secret. He opened the classified archives, found the folder marked Project Replication, found the files about the 12 human volunteers, found the autopsy reports, the psychiatric evaluations, the video footage of cubs tearing humans apart. He found other files too, older ones, files about how Velcran loyalty really worked, about the drugs, the conditioning, the brutal training that turned sapient beings into weapons. He found reports that the Empire had buried, reports from xenobiologists who discovered Velcrans had language, had culture, had dreams and fears and grief, reports that recommended treating them as people, not property. Those scientists had disappeared. Their research was classified. The truth was locked away. Do-hyun looked at the screen, looked at Jinwoo standing between guns and Taiho, looked at something pure and simple that the Empire wanted to destroy. He thought about his own life. 23 years at desk 892, going home alone, eating alone, sleeping alone, safe and quiet and empty, What's the point, he said quietly, of surviving if you never live? His finger hovered over the button, the one that would release everything. Send it to every public network, every news service, every screen in the Empire. This would end his life. They would arrest him, probably execute him. At minimum, he would spend the rest of his life in prison. But 23 years of quiet work had taught him one thing. Information was power. And right now, the Empire's power came from controlling information, from hiding the truth. Do-hyun pressed the button. The files exploded across the galaxy. In the plaza, Hana's communication device started screaming alerts. Every officer's device did. Screens throughout Sanctuary shifted from the confrontation to something else. Files, documents, video footage. People stopped running, stopped panicking. They stood and stared at the screens. They saw the 12 human volunteers, saw the footage of Velcran cubs killing them, saw the failed attempts to recreate what Jinwoo had done naturally. They saw the chemical formulas, the drugs pumped into Velcrans from birth, the conditioning protocols that broke their minds and rebuilt them as weapons, the torture disguised as training. They saw video of young Velcrans crying, actually crying. Before the conditioning took away their ability to cry, before they forgot what grief felt like, they saw reports, official Imperial reports, stating clearly that Velcrans were sapient, that they had language, that they had culture, that keeping them as weapons was slavery, not breeding. The whole Empire saw it. Billions of people, all at once. In the plaza, Hana stood frozen. Her weapon hung at her side. She was reading the files on her own device, reading things she had never been told, never been allowed to know. The 2 Imperial Velcrans behind her had stopped moving. They were reading too. The translation software in their neural implants was showing them the words, showing them what they really were, what they had been before the Empire broke them. One of them made a sound. Not a growl, not a snarl. Something else. Something broken and confused and horrified. Is this true? He asked in halting human language. Language he had been conditioned to only use for military commands. We are people. Hana couldn't answer. The truth was there in her hands. In files she couldn't deny. Her entire life, her entire career was built on a lie. Across the Empire, Velcran soldiers were stopping mid-battle, standing confused, reading the files, learning what they really were. Some kept fighting. Some couldn't process it, but many just stopped, just stood there, weapons lowered, minds breaking apart as they learned the truth. On 17 planets, fighting simply ended. Velcran enforcers walked away, sat down, refused orders. The Empire's perfect weapons had learned they were slaves. In the plaza, Jinwoo still stood in front of Taiho, waiting for the shot that would kill him. But Hana wasn't looking at him anymore. She was looking at the screens. At the truth. I didn't know, she said quietly. I didn't know. Would it have mattered? Sora called out. She had been recording everything on her datapad, broadcasting it alongside the leaked files. If you had known, would you have stopped? Hana thought about her training, about the years of service, about every order she had followed without question, about the children taken from their families and raised to forget where they came from. She thought about the human and the Velcran, about a bond that shouldn't exist, about love that grew where the Empire said only obedience could grow. She lowered her weapon. Stand down, she said to her soldiers. All units stand down, Commander, one of them questioned. Our orders are based on lies, Hana finished. She looked at the Imperial Velcrans. You're free. Both of you. I can't take back what was done to you, but I can stop doing more. The Velcrans looked at each other, confused, lost, free. One of them turned and walked away. Just walked, left the plaza, left the Empire, gone. The other stayed, staring at Hana. What do we do now? I don't know, Hana admitted. I don't know what any of us do now. She walked across the plaza. Soldiers moved aside. People whispered. She stopped in front of Jinwoo. You did this, she said. You broke everything. I just took care of someone who needed help, Jinwoo replied. His voice shook. That's all. Hana looked at Taiho. The Velcran was still pressed against Jinwoo's back. Still trusting. Still choosing the human over his instincts. I was going to kill you, Hana said. I was going to follow orders and execute you both. But now, she took off her officer's insignia, dropped it on the ground. Now I don't have orders anymore. None of us do. Across the Empire, people were making choices. Soldiers were deserting. Officers were defecting. Whole units were laying down weapons and walking away. The careful hierarchy was crumbling. The lies couldn't hold anymore. In his office, Do-hyun watched it all happen. Watched the Empire start to fracture. Security forces were already coming for him. He could hear them in the hallway. He saved one last file to his personal device. One last piece of truth. Then he stood and walked to his door. He opened it before they could break it down. "I know," he said calmly. "I'm ready." They arrested him. Put him in restraints. Led him away. People in the office stared. Some looked angry. Some looked confused. A few looked grateful. As they took him to the prison transports, Do-hyun smiled. 23 years of quiet work. 23 years of surviving. And finally, in the last moment, he had lived. On Sanctuary, Jinwoo sat down hard. His legs wouldn't hold him anymore. Taeho curled around him immediately, rumbling that deep, happy sound. "Is it over?" Jinwoo asked Sora. "No," she said, looking at her datapad, at the messages flooding in from across the galaxy. "It's just beginning." The Empire still stood. But it was wounded now. Bleeding truth. And everyone wondered what would grow from the cracks. 5 years passed like water through fingers. Jinwoo lived on New Jeju now. It was a colony world at the edge of free colony space. Green mountains rose against blue skies. Oceans stretched to the horizon. It looked almost like old Earth, or at least like the pictures Jinwoo had seen of Earth. His house was small but comfortable. Big enough for him. Big enough for Taeho. Taeho was fully grown now, 13 feet of muscle and scale and claw. His black scales shone in the sunlight. His teeth could crush ship metal. His strength could tear through reinforced doors. He was everything the Empire designed Velkrans to be, except he spent most mornings sleeping in the sun on the porch. He liked to watch the birds. He had learned to fish in the nearby stream, though he was terrible at it. And every evening when Jinwoo came home from work, Taeho's whole body would shake with that rumbling purr. Some things never changed. Jinwoo still worked in cargo. Old habits died hard, but now he had a crew. 3 other humans, 2 aliens from species that had left the Empire, and a young Velkron named Minho who was learning the trade. Minho was 16 years old. He had escaped from an Imperial breeding facility 3 years ago, hidden in a cargo container, more dead than alive. The free colonies took him in, gave him medical care, gave him therapy, gave him a chance to be something other than a weapon, but he still struggled, still had nightmares, still flinched at loud noises and sudden movements. The conditioning went deep. You couldn't just erase it. That's where Taeho helped. Taeho worked as a mediator now. He helped other escaped Velkrans adjust to freedom, taught them it was okay to feel things, okay to be gentle, okay to choose who they wanted to be instead of what they were made to be. It was slow work, hard work. Some Velkrans couldn't adjust. The conditioning was too strong. They either went back to the Empire or isolated themselves completely. But others learned. Others grew. Minho was one of the ones who might make it. "Watch your grip," Taeho told him in Velkran. The guttural language sounded natural coming from him now. He didn't have to think about it anymore. Cargo containers are fragile. Use too much strength and you'll crush them. "But I barely touched it," Minho protested. "You're stronger than you think. That's the point. The Empire trained you to use all your strength all the time, but you don't have to do that anymore. You can be gentle. You can choose." Jinwoo watched from the ship's doorway, watched Taeho teaching, watched Minho learning. 5 years ago, this would have been impossible. Now it was just another day at work. "You're good with him," Sora said, coming up beside Jinwoo. She visited New Jeju often. Her work studying human Velkran bonds brought her here regularly. "Minho's come a long way. Taeho's the good one." "I just haul cargo." "You do more than that." Sora pulled out her datapad. "I got another request. A family on Nuevo Santos. Their daughter bonded with a Velkran cub. They don't know what to do. They're scared. They're asking for help. 5 years ago, there had been one bond, one impossible connection. Now there were 47 recorded cases. Probably more that hadn't been reported. It was still rare. Still unusual. But it happened. It was real. "Tell them I'll send information," Jinwoo said. "Support group contacts, dietary needs. Training suggestions. The usual. You could visit. They'd pay for transport. They really want to meet you. I'm not special, Sora. I just helped someone who needed it. That's what makes you special. Sora smiled. You still don't get it, do you? You changed the galaxy. You broke the Empire's power structure. You started a revolution. The Empire still exists, Jinwoo pointed out. They still control hundreds of worlds, but they're cracking. Every month more worlds break away. More soldiers defect. More people question the hierarchy. You did that, you and Taiho. Jinwoo didn't feel like a revolutionary. He felt like someone who had gotten lucky. Someone who had made one good choice and somehow survived the consequences. Far away in an imperial prison, Do-hyun served his 15th year of a life sentence. He had a small cell, basic food, no luxuries. But he had visitors, people who smuggled in messages from the outside. People who told him about the changes, about the worlds that had freed themselves, about the Empire's slow collapse. He had helped cause that. His leak had started the fracture. He would die in this cell probably, but he would die knowing he had lived. Finally, completely, Hana visited him once. She was thinner now. Her hair had gone gray. She wore civilian clothes instead of a uniform. The Empire had declared her a traitor, put a bounty on her head. She couldn't go home, couldn't contact her family, couldn't be who she was before, but she was alive, and she was free. I run a network now, she told Do-hyun through the prison barrier. We smuggle Velcrans out of breeding facilities, get them to safe worlds. It's dangerous work. We lose people, but we've saved 342 so far. 342 lives, Do-hyun said. That's good work. It's not enough, it never is. But it's something. You're doing something. That matters. Hana left the prison thinking about that. About doing something. About mattering. About how one choice could change everything. Back on New Jeju, evening came. Jinwoo finished his work and went home. Taiho was already there, sleeping on the porch like always. His massive chest rose and fell slowly. Peacefully, Jinwoo sat beside him, put his hand on the warm scales, felt the rumble start immediately, even in sleep. A shuttle landed nearby. Important visitors. Again. Jinwoo got them sometimes. Politicians wanting to understand the bond. Scientists wanting to study it. Reporters wanting interviews. A woman stepped out. She wore expensive clothes. Carried herself with authority. Behind her, a small Velcran cub peeked out shyly. Jinwoo? The woman called. I'm Counselor Yoonji from New Terra. I'm sorry to arrive without notice, but I didn't know where else to go. My son? He bonded with this cub. We found her abandoned. We thought we could help. But now people are saying it's dangerous, that we should give her to authorities, that my son will get hurt. I don't know what to do. Jinwoo looked at the cub, looked at the fear in Yoonji's eyes, looked at the familiar situation. Come inside, he said. Let's talk. And bring the cub. Taeho will want to meet her. They went inside. Made tea, talked about everything. About diet and training. About patience and understanding. About how bonds formed and why they mattered. About how love was always a choice, never a guarantee. The cub and Taeho touched noses. The cub chirped nervously. Taeho rumbled softly in response. A greeting. A welcome. A promise that she was safe here. Hours later, Yoonji left with information and hope. The cub seemed calmer. Less scared, knowing she wasn't alone, knowing others had walked this path. After they left, Jinwoo stood on his porch and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Empire still plotted, still schemed, still tried to hold on to power. But every day, more cracks appeared. More people chose kindness over obedience. More bonds formed, in cantinas and cargo holds, in imperial academies and rebel bases, in quiet homes and loud markets. People talked about them. About the human and his Velcron, about the impossible bond, about what it meant, about what it changed, they argued. They debated. They wondered if the old ways were right. They questioned things they had never questioned before. The Empire still murmured about it. Every murmur was a crack in the foundation. Every crack let light through. Taiho came and pressed against Jinwoo's side. The rumble was loud now. Content, happy, home. We did good, didn't we, boy? Jinwoo asked quietly. Taiho's answer was wordless but clear. A huff that meant yes. A lean that meant always. A rumble that meant forever. They stood together as the twin moons rose over New Jeju, human and Velcron. Family by choice. Proof that impossible things could become real. In the distance, more shuttles would come. More people needing help. More bonds forming. More changes spreading like ripples across still water. The revolution wasn't loud. Wasn't violent. It was small moments and quiet choices. It was people helping people. It was choosing kindness when the universe said to choose fear. It was a human who picked up an abandoned cub and said, "You matter." And 5 years later, the galaxy was still learning what that meant. The murmur would never end. The story would keep spreading. The cracks would keep growing. And someday, maybe the old empire would fall completely. Maybe something better would grow in its place. Maybe bonds would be normal instead of impossible. But for now, on this porch, under these stars, Jinwoo and Taiho were just happy to be home. Together. Always.